Prophecy Club. I have written a little article I have entitled King Solomon's Oil. It may turn into a book. We will see how that goes. Now, I call it King Solomon's Oil, and you may want to know why would I call it King Solomon's Oil, and what is King Solomon's Oil, and I didn't know King Solomon had any crude oil. Well, the answer to the first question is, you see, I'm a student of Bible prophecy teacher. The prophecy hook first sunk in me in 1976. I'd been recruited to sell heat and smoke detectors door to door, and I was shocked to find myself at the tender young age of 22 years old going door to door bothering people. But somehow I didn't see it that way. I was simply knocking on doors, making friends, and having fun. I was helping these folks to have good, reliable fire protection in their homes. And of course, in those days, a lot of those homes were mobile homes and they really needed it. One night, I found myself about to give a presentation to a young couple. I remember his name. I think it was Jimmy Talifero or something like that. Before I started, he said, "All right, I'll make you a deal. I'll listen to your presentation if at the end you'll agree to listen to mine." Well, me being a top sales person on the ladder, each month I was pretty confident that I was going to make the sale. I was not so confident that he would sell me, so I agreed. But at the end of the presentation, he did not buy, but I did. You see, I was raised in the church, so I was already saved. But the way he told the story, I still found myself praying the sinner's prayer with him all over again. And of course, a wonderful time we had together. But after the prayer, he handed me an audio tape by Pastor Jack Hiles. He told me that he was pastor of the world's largest Baptist church in Hammond, Indiana. The name of the tape was called "The Buzzards Are Coming." And it told of how the buzzards in the valley of Jezreel, Israel, were now laying 4 eggs, not 1, and multiplying their ranks large enough and preparing to be able to eat the people killed in the Battle of Armageddon. That, of course, one day would take place in that valley. Well, I was hooked. Now, again, I had been raised in church, but somehow it had never dawned on me that the Bible foretold the future. Now, my dad was a prophecy student to a degree. I remember him making comments from time to time about how the Bible foretold last days events, but somehow it just never sunk into my head and never seemed to have made the connection. I mean, I never have been extraordinarily brilliant. My teachers growing up, I remember them remarking, "Well, I know he can do it." I just never did do it. Never did really excel in school or anything else. Matter of fact, I would say that I'm just an average person with slightly below average intelligence, looking forward to a life of nothing in particular. I took this tape home and listened to it, and I was hooked. I thought, wow, you mean the Bible? The only book that a person can truly rely on tells the future? Awesome! I had never taken much to reading the Bible before, but now I was hooked. And I couldn't put it down. I began researching all the parts about prophecy, about future events. But, of course, I quickly ran up against a wall. That wall being the wall of my own ignorance. I didn't know enough to understand what I was reading. So I needed to have some help, and I got that help by beginning to read some books on Bible prophecy. Now, yes, they gave me a good foundation, a good start, a good understanding to begin with, but they also taught me what I would discover later, some errors. So I soon laid aside other teachings to just stick with just the authorized King James Bible. Some years later, word got out that I was interested in Bible prophecy, and some of the neighbors asked if I would teach them Bible prophecy, so we started a Bible study in our home. Somewhere in all of this, I was given a tape about a man who had found in the Bible that in the last days, it says massive amounts of oil will be discovered in Israel. And I devoured that tape. I brought all of this information to our newfound Bible study, but the thought never occurred to me that one day I might be also one of those people looking for the prophesied oil in Israel. Now, years later, I was hosting this radio program, the Prophecy Club, It was May of 1994. We hosted Don McIlvaney of the McIlvaney Intelligence Advisor newsletter, an extremely good newsletter. We hosted him on a 10-city speaking tour, and Don and I became good friends. Don suggested that I invite Hayseed Stevens to speak on the tour as well. And in January of 1998, we put my good friend Hayseed Stevens on a 10-city speaking tour, speaking on Oil, the Road to Armageddon. Well, in April of 1984, Hayseed had visited Menachem Begin, then Prime Minister of Israel, and while he was there, he told us that the Lord spoke to his heart, saying, "The world's largest oil field is located at the southwest end of the Dead Sea." By 1985, he had found two other partners and drilled an exploratory well at the southwest end of the Dead Sea. Hayseed told me they were drilling in and out of layers of rock and then salt and then rock and then salt. And one of those times they didn't switch the mud fast enough. The bit twisted into a knot, and they fished as long as they had money, but finally they ran out of money and they had to abandon the well. In 1995, he started a new oil company to continue the vision to find oil in Israel. He later said, quote, "My vision to find oil in Israel was dead until you, Stan, picked me up and put me on that speaking tour," unquote. His vision to gather the funds and go drill another well was progressing pretty well up until May 15th of 2003, when he came back from Israel extremely tired and literally fell dead from a heart attack. They put his son in charge of the company, but things didn't go as well as they had hoped, and by 2007 it was a mess. And I was invited to become the new president and CEO of that company. I laughed it off, telling him, no, I'm a minister, I'm a radio man, I'm a prophecy teacher, but I'm not an oil man. I had no or little interest of being in the oil business, as they say. Well, a few months after that, it was November 26, 2007. I received a call from a lady who was writing a magazine article about oil in Israel. She wanted to ask me all I knew about that vision to find oil in Israel. Now, I was skeptical because there had been some recent newspaper and magazine articles written criticizing the vision to find oil in Israel. So I wanted to make certain that I wasn't speaking to anyone with a bad attitude toward it, so I tested her. I asked her rather directly. I said, "So how do I know you really are a Christian and that you really love Israel and you're not just trying to rip up the whole vision to find oil in Israel?" Immediately, with confidence, she broke out in speaking in tongues. And I said, wait a minute, okay. That answers the question. She had passed my test, so we began to talk. Somewhere in the conversation, I told her about a few of the dreams that God had given me, showing me that somehow I was going to be involved with the vision to find oil in Israel. I didn't understand at the time, but I just knew what they said. The next day, she called me back and introduced me to Hayseed's former attorney. He asked if I would be interested in forming a new oil company to continue the vision to find oil in Israel. Basically, I laughed again. I said, "Guys, I got plenty on my plate. I don't need anything else to do." But I did begin to listen, but I still concluded the conversation declining their offer. I did say, however, I will pray about it. I was complimented that they had asked me, now the second group for the second time, to be heading up an oil company to find oil in Israel. But I said, I'll pray about it. That night, sure enough, I did. I prayed about it. But my prayer was looking for a way to get out of it, not for a way to get into it. I prayed and I said, "Lord, you know I don't have that $5,000 that attorney said it cost to start a new oil company. So if you want me to do it, you got to send the money in Jesus' name." Now, okay, that was that. I was out of that one. End of story. I think the next day it might not have even entered into my heart. But the next day the office called and said, "A lady called the office and wants you to return a call. She wants to speak with you about the vision to find oil in Israel." I said, "Why do these people keep calling me? I don't have anything to do with oil in Israel." He said, "Well, she's been a faithful $50 a month partaker now for over 10 years. I think you ought to call her." I said, "Yeah, I think I should too." "All right, give me your name and number." I called her, And she said, "Thank you for calling. The reason I asked you to call is 2 nights ago, the Lord woke me up in the middle of the night and told me I was to give you $30,000 to continue the vision to find oil in Israel." And yes, there was a long silence. I was stunned. Finally, I said, "Well, fine." I still remember to this moment, "Well, fine," because I really wasn't saying it to her. I was saying it to the Lord. It's like, "Okay, you trapped me. You got me on this one. Okay, well, fine." She said, "What?" So I told her the story because, see, at that time, the only ones that even knew that we had even been discussing starting a new oil company was the magazine lady, the attorney, me, and my wife, and of course the Lord. But God had a plan. So I said, "All right, fine, send me the money," and we started the Prophetic Oil Company. Now, for you to understand all of this, I kind of have to back up, and then we can move forward in our story again. For this next segment, if you don't believe that God speaks to people in dreams, or if you're skeptical about God speaking to people in dreams, I understand. However, there's a couple of things you should realize. Job 33:15 says, "In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction." Now, essentially that's saying that God talks to people in dreams and in visions in the night when they are in deep sleep. He opens their ears and he tells them what they're supposed to do. God sometimes directs the steps of certain individuals by dreams. And in case you don't know that he does that, let me just point out a couple of examples. Abimelech, for example, was warned not to touch Sarah, wife of Abraham, in a dream. Jacob was given his covenant with God in a dream. Jacob was told that God was blessing his cattle in a dream. God warned Laban not to harm Jacob in a dream. Joseph was told his mother, father, and brothers would bow down to him in a dream. Later, Egypt was raised up to be a great nation because the Pharaoh was told there would be 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine in a dream. And Joseph was taken out of the prison because he interpreted the Pharaoh's dream. We'll be right back after this message. If you would like to find out more about our vision to find oil in Israel, call 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. There's no obligation. They'll send you out a free packet explaining our vision. Is it possible that an ancient harbinger holds the secret of America's future? That this mystery lies behind everything from 9/11 to the collapse of the global economy? Are the ancient harbingers of judgment now manifesting in America? Is God sending America a prophetic warning of what is to come? Before its destruction as a nation, ancient Israel received 9 harbingers, prophetic omens of warning. The same 9 harbingers now appear to be manifesting in America with immediate ramifications for end-time Bible prophecy. Hidden in an ancient biblical prophecy from Isaiah, the mysteries revealed in the harbinger are so precise that they foretold recent American events down to the exact day. The revelations are so specific that even the most hardened skeptics find it hard to dismiss. It sounds like a plot out of a Hollywood thriller, but it's real. Topics are: what is a harbinger? What are the 9 harbingers? What did the harbingers bring to Israel? Have 9 harbingers hit America now? Was 9/11 America's first harbinger? Does Isaiah 9:10 prophesy the fall of America? Does the harbinger involve some of America's highest leaders? Does the Shemitah have a prophecy for America? Is there a harbinger, a prophetic warning hidden in America's consecration ground? How the harbinger fits into end-time Bible prophecy. Call the Prophecy Club Ask for The Harbinger, 785-266-1112. The Harbinger, 785-266-1112. Call now. And now, back to the program. Nothing I'm saying in this program should be deemed an offering or a solicitation for you to buy a security. Any such thing can only be done through a proper legal prospectus, such as a private placement document approved by the company. My statements are my personal views and opinions, and they are not a legal representation or a promise. I cannot promise I know the exact location of oil in Israel, nor that I will ever drill for or find oil in Israel. This interview is for entertainment purposes only. Any legal relationship, which would include a business relationship or an investment, will only be done through proper legal documents. Thank you for understanding. Stan Johnson. And Joseph was taken out of the prison because he interpreted the Pharaoh's dream. Gideon was called to save Israel in a dream. God asked Solomon what he would like for him to do in a dream. Daniel was saved because he interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Then in the New Testament, God saved baby Jesus by warning Joseph to go to Egypt in a dream. The wise men were warned to return home a different way, thus saving their lives from Herod by a dream. Joseph was instructed to return to Israel because Herod had died in a dream. Pilate's wife was instructed that Pilate should have nothing to do with the death of Jesus in a dream. The prophet Joel was told in the last days, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. But in 2012, Christians should not believe anyone who says God spoke to them in a dream. Right? Wrong. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. So God is still speaking to us in dreams. Yes, I know that there's a lot of crazy dreams that sometimes people talk about. Sometimes we get them also, but we've got to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. We've got to be able to decide when that's really God and really not. Now, I must share with you some interesting events which I believe has caused me to seriously consider the vision to find oil in Israel. Before Gideon was used to save Israel from the Midianites, God spoke to him in a dream, telling him what he was going to do. And I've had some very interesting dreams that seem to be telling me God would like to use me to win souls, and that oil will be giving me the funds to win those souls. For example, December 16th, 2002, I was drifting off to sleep, and I said, the first time I had ever said this, Lord, I just want to say that I love you with all of my heart. I love you more than my wife, more than my children, more than my very life. Well, I didn't understand. But apparently I had stepped into the Abrahamic covenant. You see, that's what Abraham had to be willing to do, is to put God before Isaac, his son, his only son, his most beloved son. And when he put God at the top of the list, then Abraham was blessed. Well, something very powerful happened to me that night because I said those words. In the night, I heard the audible voice of the Lord speak. And I heard words, and it said, I am giving you part of the harvest from the seeds sown by Billy Graham. Now let me say it again. I'm giving you part of the harvest of the seeds sown by Billy Graham. Then a sword appeared in my hands, very light, very sharp, two-edged. I could swing it around in any direction effortlessly. A piece of paper, 2 foot by 2 foot, appeared up above me and to the right. About 1/3 of the paper was bent down. I swung the sword, cut off 1/3 of the paper, and as the sword sliced down the paper, 1/3 part of the paper turned to a waterfall. Well, now we know that Billy Graham spoke in sports stadiums around the globe for over 50 years. So that has to have something to do with winning a lot of souls, and you just got to pray for the Holy Spirit to give you the rest of the interpretation. I believe there's some very powerful promises in there, but I will let you figure that out. All right, let's go on to the next one. I walked out of a meeting in Omaha in 2003, February the month, and there wasn't very many people in that meeting. It was very frustrating. I remember thinking, man, I really needed to have a good meeting tonight to pay all the bills. And I'm thinking, I don't even have the money to pay for the sleeping room, much less the several $100s for the meeting room. And I thought to myself in my heart, I thought, it just seems like the Prophecy Club radio program and all of these meetings just might not make it much longer. I mean, I was really down. I was really depressed. And I thought, man, what does the Lord want to do with my life? Maybe I need to just close the Prophecy Club and just go find a job again. I mean, I was doing better with just a secular job than I'm doing with this. I mean, at least I knew I could pay my bills. I mean, good grief. So I was just very frustrated. When I got to the room, I called my wife long distance, and I said, I just need to know, what does God want me to do? I mean, this is not working. We do these radio programs, we do these meetings, and not enough people even show up to even pay the bills. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Would you pray that God would speak to me tonight about what I'm supposed to do? Well, that night he did. One of the most important and powerful dreams that ties in. You may be saying, how's this tie in with oil in Israel? It ties in with everything to do with oil in Israel. As a matter of fact, it's the foundation. It's the reason why I believe that God has me involved with that vision. Now, here was the dream. I got in my car, drove down the street to a small mission or church kind of thing to pray and seek the Lord. In my dream, I was depressed as I was before I went to bed that night. I walked into this little mission. There was a man at the front of the chapel speaking to about 40 men. Another man was walking around handing out a piece of paper to each person in the room. A man on the front row asks, "Why do we have to go to this memorial?" The man at the front replied, "You have to go." Another man in the second row raised his hand and says, "Well, what is it?" The speaker said, "It's a memorial to a Romanian pastor named Duduman. Go see it. You'll really like it." About that time, the man handing papers to each person finally walked up to me, handing me one of them. I said, "No, I don't need a paper. I just came to pray." And the man stepped closer and pushed the paper at me. He says, "You have to go." And I said, "No, look, sometimes you have to understand at these mission places, you got to listen to the sermon. In this case, they wanted you to go see this memorial before you get to eat." Well, I didn't care to eat. I just came to pray, But the guy stepped forward to me and he punched me with this piece of paper. He says, "You have to go." And I said, "Wait a minute, are you talking about Dimitri Duduman?" He said, "Yes, you have to go." And he punched me again with the paper. I mean, he's punching me with the paper saying you have to go. And it was almost offensive, And I said, "Wait a minute, you talking about Dimitri Duduman, the Romanian pastor that smuggled Bibles into Romania and Russia for 30 years, caught, put through 5 months of torture, culminating in them putting him on the electric chair twice. He was sent to America with a warning that the fall of America would start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Some of the people would start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, Central America, and 2 other countries would attack and defeat America in 1 hour. Is that the Dimitri Duduman you talked about?" And he said, "Yes." And he punched me with the paper. He said, "You have to go." And I just exploded. And I said, "I am Dimitri Duduman." And I collapsed back into the chair, and I just began to weep. You see, I had my answer. I'd been asking the Lord, what am I supposed to do? Do you want me to close this radio? You want me to close these meetings? You want me to close Prophecy Club down? Maybe I just need to go get another job. I don't have to do this. I was doing pretty good before I got in this. Maybe I need to go back to that. But see, God told me what I'm supposed to do, and that is to spread the warning given to Dimitri Duduman, to spread the fact that you are in the last days. You are a part of the last generation. You are living in the mystery Babylon. America is going to fall. I'm supposed to spread that message. All right, now let me summarize where we are. First, I said, I love you more than I love my wife, my children, and my life. And he says, I'm going to give you part of the harvest from the seeds sown by Billy Graham. Then, a few months later, he tells me I'm Dimitri Duduman. So then I began saying, Lord, okay, fine. You tell me you're going to give me all these souls, how are you going to give me the money to win all the souls? Because it costs money, you know. I'm remembering all of these meetings where I walk out with my pocket hanging out and a big stack of bills in my hands, you know. So how are you going to give me the money to win all these souls? That's what I began praying. It was May 6th. That's an important date. Remember that. May 6th, 2003. Just before I went to sleep, I asked the Lord once again, how are you going to give me the money to win thousands upon thousands of souls like you promised? So, in my dream, I was standing on a 55-gallon oil drum, as in a crude oil drum. I was teaching Bible prophecy to a group of about 125 people. On top of the oil drum was another smaller 2.5-gallon drum with a spigot on it. It was awkward to preach and avoid this small drum and spigot. I stopped preaching for a moment, and I asked the group, and I said, is there anyone that can help me to cut a hole in this and get this spigot attached to this 55-gallon drum so I can get the oil out so I can go ahead and preach without distractions? 2 people said they could help. You see, once again, I had my answer. Let me summarize. Okay, supposed to give you part of the harvest of the seeds sown by Billy Graham. Billy Graham won millions of people to the Lord. He's supposed to be giving me part of that. That's a lot of souls. He tells me the message is supposed to be through me, through Deuteronomy, the gospel, the last days, Bible prophecies coming to pass. Now he has me standing on an oil drum. He's telling me, this is the message I want you to get out, and I'm going to finance it with crude oil. That's what I'm getting out of this. We'll continue this in the next broadcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. If you would like to find out more about our vision to find oil in Israel, call 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. That's 877-OIL-ISRAEL or 877-645-4772. There's no obligation. They'll send you out a free packet explaining our vision. Is it possible that an ancient harbinger holds the secret of America's future? That this mystery lies behind everything from 9/11 to the collapse of the global economy? Are the ancient harbingers of judgment now manifesting in America? Is God sending America a prophetic warning of what is to come? Before its destruction as a nation, ancient Israel received 9 harbingers, prophetic omens of warning. The same 9 harbingers now appear to be manifesting in America with immediate ramifications for end-time Bible prophecy. Hidden in an ancient biblical prophecy from Isaiah, the mysteries revealed in the harbinger are so precise that they foretold recent American events down to the exact day. The revelations are so specific that even the most hardened skeptics find it hard to dismiss. It sounds like a plot out of a Hollywood thriller, but it's real. Topics are, what is a harbinger? What are the 9 harbingers? What did the harbingers bring to Israel? Have 9 harbingers hit America now? Was 9/11 America's first harbinger? Does Isaiah 9:10 prophesy the fall of America? Does the harbinger involve some of America's highest leaders? Does the Shemitah have a prophecy for America? Is there a harbinger, a prophetic warning hidden in America's consecration ground? How the harbinger fits into end-time Bible prophecy. Call the Prophecy Club. Ask for the Harbinger, 785-266-1112. The Harbinger, 785-266-1112. Call now.